According to Colston Newton's article of Wednesday, July 6, 2016 in the Northumberland Echo, after a routine end-of-year special meeting, Northumberland County School Board went into executive session Wednesday morning. Members said nothing exciting was going to be discussed. The board came back into open session and voted to offer middle school principal Michael Ransome a central office position as pupil principal director. Should he accept the offer, it would be a step down from the principal's job. Board Chairman Dean Sumner was not at the meeting, which was basically called to approve end-of-year bill payments. Following the executive session, the members present, Dana Aubert, Gail Starrett, Gerald Howard, and Betty Christopher, voted 2-1 to 1, an abstention, to offer the central office position to Ransome. Had Sumner been present and voted against the measure, it would have failed 2 to 1. In a follow-on article dated Wednesday, July 13, 2016 in the Northumberland Echo, Colston Newton recounts the activities of the previous Monday's board meeting. With 28 people, most talking for 4 minutes each in the public comment periods of the Northumberland County School Board's meeting at the high school Monday night, it was a long meeting even without the board getting in its oar in the water and without attending to regular business. The discussion during the July 11th board meeting of the issue of moving Mr. Ransome to a new position falls into 3 distinct sections. The motion to rescind the agenda item and related board discussion, the comments from the audience against the board's actions, and finally the comments from the audience sympathetic to the actions of Aubert and Starrett.
Assigned or to approve teachers for the new year. That's what that was for.
It had to do with personnel matters. And at the beginning of that meeting, Ms. Starrett changed the agenda to add that item.
Any time in the past when we want to reassign anybody, it's discussed, it's talked about, it is researched for everybody to agree, and that's how the proper way to do it. It is not, we just gave the man a contract 3 weeks ago. And you want to breach that contract while you have the advantage of somebody that wasn't there, because it's usually a meeting of just cleaning up things at the end of the year, like it has for the first 14 years I've been on this board. And so as far as I'm concerned, you backdoored this. And nobody out here knew that was coming, because it was even asked before the closed session, is there anything exciting going to happen in the second one? And the answer was no.
How do you know you weren't there?
He's the chairman, lady.
This is all your opinion, Dean. We can
No, that's
move
not
on
opinion.
or we can drag it out.
That's not opinion. And the thing is, so now you want this reassigned on 2 votes out of 5, and nobody knew it was coming, so nobody was able to even discuss the matter, and now you want to cut the discussion off so nobody's heard.
It was 2
Again,
votes out of 4. You weren't present.
we have a 5-person board, 2 people were for it.
And you were not present.
And
That was your choice.
Oh. Watch it, lady.
You want to have a
Watch
motion
it.
and this without any discussion with the community. You don't even want to talk about it then.
We're not going to act like it hasn't been discussed prior to last week's meeting.
Yeah,
If
and
the
it was,
superintendent didn't discuss it with you, if she didn't discuss it with Mr. Ransome, that's her negligent on her job.
Once it's open for discussion, you brought it up
No, Miss Steer brought it up.
You said, at that time, I told you that I thought it was a legal motion. Illegal motion.
What exactly is an illegal motion? How do you get arrested for an illegal motion?
Let me finish now.
Help yourself.
In that meeting, the two of you voted for it, even though 3 weeks prior to that, you had voted to offer Mr. Ransome, in May, you offered to vote to offer him the contract. Then you came back in June and confirmed that he was to be offered the contract, because you approved the minutes of the meeting in May. He received the contract, signed the contract, and then 2 weeks later, you backdoored that way. And now you want to set up here, all these community people are going to hear. You want to deprive him, as well as the board, with their discussing that. And you do not have the right, even though you had the vote, you don't have the right to deprive him. So why would you do that?
It's crossed out here.
Just a small thing. Go back in.
We'll have a second.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I abstain. Okay, motion carries. Approval of monthly bills and financial. But at the same time, if everybody is going to do the same thing as we go along, maybe we can try to have everybody have, we're going to hear anybody that wants to speak can speak. But if you see the time dragging on and you want to just say this person represents me to help speed up the problem, I think that would be helpful. Pardon?
I want to make an inquiry if I might.
Okay.
This period has to do with things on the agenda.
Yeah.
You ought to just remove principal business from the agenda. But wouldn't anybody want to talk about that, have to wait till the second period?
What is it? Right. What's the pleasure of the board? You want to do it now or? To this. We're going to hear them right now. But at the same time, and I want you to help me with this, that if everybody's saying the same things, that maybe we could get people to get together and say, this person represents what I want to say, that would help speed things along. I'm going to start off with,
Mr. Chairman, could I make a suggestion? Just out of courtesy, could we maybe see the presentations first? It's our meeting, thank you.
would you like to make another motion?
I would like to make a motion that we recognize the presentations before we hear open public comments as a courtesy to the children.
We have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, the motion carries. We're going to go to the presentations first, and then we're going to go to the open public. Well, you have 4 minutes to speak, and Carol will raise So we have 1 minute left, and if you would please honor that, we appreciate it because we do have a long list here. The first name is Melissa Pierce. Okay. Jim Long.
I'd like to say good evening, everyone. Good to be here. I see on your list where you have an update your. I want you, each one of you, to remember the executive officer of the board is the superintendent.
Yeah.
Right? She's in charge of hiring and firing too. If you disagree, it should be one not based on negative. That's very important that the board realize you have goals, you have duties. I'll pull this up. You have 10 on the first page that you're not following. You have an evaluation sheet of yourself. You need to evaluate yourself. You really do. Because you're not working with students and faculty and the community as a whole. You're ignoring them. So you need to really review your list. Evaluation, they have goals, you have goals, you have report of harassment, your personal performance goal is to promote the employment and retention of highly qualified personnel. That's your goal. That's what you have now. Northumberland County Schools. So you need to read it and follow those. And hopefully, the board is split. You split the board, and you just about split the county. So you really need to get yourself together. Thank you.
Good evening. I feel we definitely have a problem within our school system that's gotten worse since our 2 members have joined the school board. This has got to be worked out for the betterment of our children first and foremost. It cannot be resolved when things are done that are deceitful, underhanded, and probably illegal. In my opinion, it was also, there were extremely racial overtones within it. I have 2 questions. Now, I understand that you can't answer these questions now, but the first one that I feel is so important is that have either of you yet gone to take training to become a school board member? It was offered to you. If you haven't done it, and if you are planning on it, that should be something mandatory. In any new job, most of us have to go through training. And before, when you know what you're doing, then these things wouldn't happen. My second question is, and you've rescinded on this, but my second question is, why did you approve Mike Ransom's contract in a full vote of the board, wait until the chair was out of town, and then bring the contract to another vote? It seems to me that you took advantage of the system and of protocol. I was so angry about this, the way the 2 of you did this. If there are racial problems within the school, have you tried to resolve them? If you or anyone else feels that discipline is not given out fairly or evenly, have you had open discussions with your teachers, or are you just discussing things with a few people behind closed doors causing more problems? I have found my grandson to be open-minded, fair, and above all else, interested in providing a good education for all of his students. We are living in 2016. We are not living in the 1960s. At a meeting last week, about 100 of us closed our meeting singing a song called We Shall Overcome. For those of you that are too young to remember that song, it was sung in the 60s. And I cannot believe that in 2016 we still have to sing it just because people can't get along because our skins are very tough. I have not seen either of you attend Mike's talks or listen to them yourselves. It reminds me of most of what goes on even with our own board of supervisors. They attend their meetings and that's it. They've already formed their opinions, and God forbid anyone should have another. I am so sorry for Mike and for our wonderful superintendent of schools, Dr. Gates, who has to put up with this awful mess. Our students deserve better than this. It seems to me that this is not only racial, but sometimes between the born here's and the come here's. And I need to say that the come here's came here because we wanted to be here. And if we weren't here, you wouldn't have a tax base at all. I love it here. I love Northumberland County. But I do not like the racial prejudice I see over and over again on both sides. You all have managed to bully your way through a lot over the years, and many of us, both white and black, are not going to allow you to keep it up. We have to learn to live together. And most importantly, teach our children by setting a good example and not teaching them how to hate. Both sides must come together.
Your 4 minutes up. Thank you very much. Thank you. Latoya Casper.
My name is Latoya Casper. I am a lifetime resident of Northumberland County. I'm here to discuss, to make a mention of Mr. Ransome removal. Well, what you guys are calling it's now called a promotion, but we all know what it really is. I have had some personal experience this year with Mr. Ransome regarding my child who's a rising eighth grader at the middle school. And of course, I know some of you looking at me will think that, hey, my child is a troublemaker, but she's not. She's actually a Beta Club member, straight A student. So get that out of your head. I'm not here for that. That's not my kids, but I am here for the kids who fall between the cracks, who Mr. Ransome has been helping all year. If you notice from your numbers on the Virginia report card, the gap between African-American students and white students has been growing smaller the last 3 years. He has been here the last 2, so I can credit a part of that to his being here. And of course, the discipline. I've heard in the community that discipline has been, some black students have been getting priority and not being disciplined the same way white students have been. My thing is you cannot look at students on a group-by-group basis. Students are individuals, they are people. Some child may be going through something that you all know nothing about, looking at a piece of paper with numbers on it. You have got to look at each child individually. What may work for one child discipline-wise may not work for another. So this school-to-prison pipeline is a very real thing. And I know y'all changed the terminology this year, but it's still the same. It's a school-to-prison pipeline. It's found that when kids are suspended or actively during the school year, they more than likely will go on to be in prison. Who is disproportionately suspended more? It is African-American students. So that is a state fact. You may not like it, you may not like how it goes, but that's what it is. And so with him not doing suspensions for every little teeny little thing, okay, if somebody gets there and bringing drugs to school, they're having these big brawl-out fights, I understand suspensions. But I know for a fact that my brother sat in a still teacher's class, she's still teaching in Northumberland County right now. She had him expelled for throwing a piece of paper in a basketball goal. In a trash can in class. He was expelled from school and was not allowed to return for a year, was called to get his GED. Terminology you want to be politically correct about is dead wrong. You did not listen to us as a community, you to one side and you did it in a sneak vote. That is bullying 101. The same thing you guys are saying the school is. I'm saying right now, you can't bully me. And I know y'all. You taught me. You taught me. And I loved you in school. But it's a bully move you just pulled. But you were being a bully in this church. Bullying. And that's what it is. The same that y'all are fussing about the schools being unsafe because he's not suspending these kids and on the record you want them to, but you did the same thing. You did a sneak attack on the back end to vote this man out. How can you look at yourselves? Bully. 101.
grew up in Westmoreland County and now live here. I'm not a come here. You said earlier, sir, that it would be helpful if we did not repeat things that have been said earlier. So I stand to support Mr. Ransome and say I completely concur with the previous comments, especially that young lady.
All right.
Linwood Blizzard.
Dr. Gates and Dr. Wargo, members of the school board meet you this afternoon. I stand before you as a very concerned resident of this county. I come before you speaking on behalf of what we talked about with Mr. Ramsey, reassignment from the middle school to the central office. Many have asked the question of whether it was a promotion or a demotion. I suggest it is neither a demotion nor a promotion, but an act of dehumanization by the government that should represent our citizens here in Northumberland County. On May 9th, the contract was given by full unanimous vote by the school board to give them a contract for the following year, and on June 29th, that was rescinded. We come today speaking about we don't know what the laws are, we may not have that training, but the last time I checked for the people who have been sent to Haynesville and Warsaw, ignorance of the law is still no excuse in this county. School board policy BBAA states that the school board members shall have no authority or duties except those such as may be assigned to them by the school board as a whole. I stand before you today to tell you this is not your board. You are our board. This is not an aristocracy, but a representative democracy. If you fail to represent the citizens, you have to remove yourself from the position of that representation. In fact, in addition, the laws of the Code of Virginia here in section 22.1-294 suggest that the reassignment of any principal, assistant principal position has to be done before June 15th by the law. And if it is not, and in the process of doing such, the person who is going to be reassigned has to be given a fair notice and hearing to plead their case for that situation. We have broken the law. Section 22.1-294 of the same Code of Virginia says the school board adopts a resolution authorizing the division superintendent to reassign. Here, the division superintendent reassigns, not the school board, such teachers, principals, or assistant principals. The division superintendent may assign. May. It doesn't say has to. The law says may assign any such teacher, principal, or assistant principal for that school year to any school within such division. I come before you today to plead for you, Dr. Gates, to make your role prominent in what you are. You are the executive of this school board. We affirm your position. Members of the school board, we affirm what you have done, but we also recognize that there's error here. It is our desire for you to represent the interests of our county as a whole, and not a few residents that may be in your own back pockets to create the change that they want, and not the change that the county needs.
Latoya Gray and Veronica Adams. Greetings on behalf of National Black United Front, Westmoreland, Virginia chapter in formation. Though some of us reside in Westmoreland and Spotsylvania County, we feel our presence is necessary today to stand in solidarity with our brothers and sisters who reside in this county. Excuse me, I'm nervous. Sorry. And to express our views in regards to the recent actions of Gail Sturr and Dana Obia to remove Principal Ransome. We feel these actions are a display of social injustice and proper use of authority by public elected officials and does not serve in the best interest of Northumberland County's public school system. We are not here to attack any particular organization or individual. However, we question their ideologies, strategies, and agendas. We encourage this county to do the same. This is an example of our daily struggles as the majority of our institutions operate under a capitalistic infrastructure where we pay the ultimate price of free public services with our freedom. We struggle for democracy and socialism, whether it is in education, the judicial system, or economics, regardless of our socioeconomic status. It is imperative that we openly acknowledge our ongoing struggles to educate ourselves and to become familiar with the politics and culture within our community. And judging by the unprofessional disposition of Dana O'Bear and the blatant disregard of this community's voice, I suggest that this community take all necessary action for her removal on this board. Good afternoon. My name is Latoya Kama Gray. We live by the village motto, therefore, their children are our children. We practice the principles of Kwanzaa, and a particular principle I would like to mention to you today is Ujima, collective work and responsibility, to work in a cooperative manner to strengthen our families, understand that the well-being of our families is connected to the well-being of our neighborhoods, and the success of anyone in their life is an aspect of and dependent on the goodness and the health of the community as a whole, who are responsible for the success and the failure of the community in its own totality. We would like to remind any unbothered community members who are present and hold the belief that your child is not a part of this, so you feel no need to take action or raise your voice in your community. You are not your child's only influence. You are not your child's only influence. My name is Veronica Adams. We encourage this community to set aside personal grievances that are irrelevant and may be harmful to this county and its people's best interests. We also encourage the community to stay involved, question policies and procedures, to challenge and remove elected officials who are unprincipled and/or corrupt, to prevent further contamination. Your lives and your future generations depend on it. Thank you.
Susan Foxhall.
School board members and administrators, I am very upset about this ruling, and you still have the opportunity to correct this mistake. You might consider this action in light of the risk of litigation. When an employer demotes an employee out of a desire to prevent an employee from exercising his First Amendment rights, that employee is entitled to challenge that unlawful action under the First Amendment in the United States Code 42, Section 1983. This is federal code, and it applies to all schools. This is not a joke. This is serious. The thing we have to do is prove it. That's the hard part. But if you give a man a contract and then you rescind it after you've given it to him without fair discussion with him and with your peers, you have to do this vote again. I don't care what your agenda says. I was on the school board in Wisconsin for 6 years. I know school board. I know the rules. I obey them. This influences everyone: children, teachers, parents, and administrators. We need all of our people, to work for our children. I was a teacher, obviously. I'm not a lawyer, by the way. That was my daughter who wrote that. She is a lawyer. But I just want to say that I work at Boys and Girls in Kilmarnock because I live right on the line. And because I live in Northumberland County, I decided I should do Boys and Girls here, and I have. I've been very interested in the Boys and Girls here, and I've gone once a week and I work with reading. And I can sense a little of the tension in the air. I'm not sure what it is. I think it's racial, but I'm not sure. But I know that these children deserve a chance. I'm there to help them become tax-paying citizens, not welfare recipients. Jobs with benefits good life ahead and do the same for their children. Thank you.
My name is Michael Harwood. My wife Adele and I have lived in my Conoco church now for just over 25 years. I am shocked and disappointed at the action this board is taking against middle school principal Michael Ransome. I have a special association with the students of Northumberland County Public School System since I participated in the elementary school after-school reading partners program since its inception some 20 years ago. These children deserve to have the best as they progress through the grades towards high school graduation. In my opinion, Michael Ransome represents the very best. If Michael is being demoted because of his recent presentation at the Northumberland Public Library regarding white privilege, I have attended one of those presentations, and I can absolutely see no grounds for such a board action. And I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm talking about. I've been involved with the hiring and evaluation of employees during most of my working career, including 20 years as an Army officer, 14 years as a Secretary-Treasurer of a major national trade association, and the holder of an MBA with a concentration in personnel management, known today as human resources management. Please reconsider what you're doing and reverse this most unfortunate board action. Thank you for this opportunity to talk.
Nancy Miller and Richard Sachs will be after.
I'm going to pass my turn. I feel like that it's spoken before me, reflecting all the anger and upset that I have about what has been done by this board of school. And feel that Mike should have
And after Mr. Saxer will be David May.
My name is Dick Saxon from Reedville. I believe all of you up there know me. And I feel that what has happened tonight is proof that the three people who voted not to rescind this resolution are an abomination to their position. Or for what she's done before. And the others are not far behind. Your attorney sits here but has not commented on anything that's been said tonight, especially by a previous speaker who talked about the law, that it has to be a recommendation of the superintendent of schools. What happened to that? Where is that? And I'm saying that because I was the superintendent of schools for 18 years in another state, but it's still the same law. I really decided, I'm beyond it, I decided not to speak because the only people I will speak to is Mr. Sumner and Mr. Howard because they will listen. The other three have no intention of listening whatsoever. And you do not represent the people of Northumberland County the way you should.
My name is David May. Good evening. I'm a resident of Lancaster County, but a good friend of mine votes in District 5 of Northumberland is with a letter that she'd asked for me to present. Her name is the Reverend Khaki Swan. Raised and educated mainly in Norfolk, Virginia, I entered the 8th grade at Blair Junior High School in September of 1957. But those were the days of massive resistance to integration of the schools. The result was that the students of all public schools in Norfolk were locked out. Our parents quickly sought to find places for us to continue our education. Tutoring groups were started in many of the churches in the city. But not all parents could find a school for their children. It was not until January of 1958 that the schools reopened. There were many of us whose education was affected because of what was in 1962. I attended attended a gathering of Episcopal young churchmen in the Southern Virginia churches in Blackstone, at which we were asked to vote on including black young people from our diocese in large gatherings. At that time, 1962, I stood before some 300 of my peers and proclaimed that we were all God's children, and God loves all of us and wants us to love one another. It is now 2016. More than 50 years have passed, and I still believe that we are all God's children, and God loves all of us and wants us to love one another. Because of this, I have joined in conversation with a wonderful group of people, black folks, white folks, born here's, come back here's, and belong here's. Amazing. That was an aside. Good Lord. Who have gathered together several times in Northumberland to get to know and understand each other. Michael Ransome was invited to come to share some insights with us, and what he had to say helped me understand myself and others in the group better. I went to a repeat of that presentation with my husband at Northumberland Library because I deemed that what Michael had said was worth hearing again and worth sharing with others. I had told others what I had learned, but Michael did the telling better than I can. I know Michael Ransome to be an upstanding citizen of this community. He is thoughtful, sensitive, and sincere. I understand many of his students have benefited from his presence as principal in the middle school. I believe that to be true. I cannot imagine any reason to let him get away from the wonderful job he is doing in the school and in this community. It is time to stop being threatened by one another. It is time we learn to live together as brothers and sisters working for the good of the community. After all these years, we should have a common goal to do the best we can in all we do, and that is done best by working together. Sincerely yours, the Reverend Catherine Khaki Swan. Thank you.
And clear incompetence in fulfilling their roles. I have absolutely no for you to understand as a community that this is so much bigger than Mr. Ransome. So I know that majority of us here are gathered together because of Mr. Ransome and this line item on the agenda, but this is so much bigger than that. And when you look at the succession of events, so first there was this illegal breach that had an underlying motive, right? So this was a federal violation. This was criminal. This was illegal. This was not an oops, we made a mistake, I didn't know. This is not willful ignorance. This is an intentional effort, and you need to understand that. This is also, it was followed by this ridiculous vote banning Mr. Turner from doing much needed work in NUCPS as a part of another agency because of his apparent background. And now this deceitful vote reassigning Mr. Ransome. Now, we have some questions to ask ourselves as community members because there is something called accountability. And one of the young men that just commented said just that. This is not your board, Ms. O'Beer. And your bully tactics that Ms. Castor referred to, that's exactly what this is. But how do you feel? How do you feel justified in circumventing and going above and beyond the law? Clearly, you don't know what the core competencies of your role are. So I don't even understand how you're able to bring about these votes where, you know, mysteriously Mr. Sumner's on vacation and you just said that it was his choice to not be here. There's intentional deceit. And we can't allow it to go on. You can't allow it to go on. So I really want to say that I'm so incredibly proud of this community for stepping up. I'm really, really proud because I don't know that this community has galvanized this way in a long time, if ever. So I'm really, really proud of your now unapologetic. Now you're not asking for permission because you don't need to. You know your rights, you know the law, and if you don't, it will help you understand that. But Ms. O'Beer, Ms. Sterrett, Ms. Christopher, anybody who's complicit in this illegal work has to go. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, are we or are we not supposed to speak through the chair?
Thank you. Thank you.
Actually, the law says we need to address the chair.
Anderson, followed by
Dr. Pamela.
And I want to clarify, since we have issues regarding what school board policy is, all we have to do is address the chair. I don't have to look at you. Okay, so let me clarify that.
That's right.
Thank you. As I was stating, okay, since we want to control how people speak, how people look, where people work, and where they go, I'm going to address the people that really matter to you. Okay, I'm going to address you. And Ms. O'Bear, the arrogance that you have is equal to your ignorance. And Mr. Ransome, I want to let you know that I have over 50 Office of Civil Rights complaints right here. And we are here to get all 50 of them filled out on your behalf and submit them so that we can have a federal investigation into the actions of these school board members who, once again, their arrogance is equal to their ignorance, okay? Now, if I was stating last time I was here, I have never seen a school board as incompetent as this board, and they have the attorney with them today, and they still can't do any better than this. As a community, you guys should be outraged because they get paid, don't they? They get paid. Okay, Mr. Ransome gets paid and he gets completely mistreated. They get paid and they abuse their authority. So you need to consider your power as a community. The arrogance cannot be tolerated. What has happened as a result of Mr. Ransome being removed is an act of terrorism. And I'm going to read for you what an act of terrorism is. It's when one engages in acts intended to intimidate the community and influence policy by intimidation. That is an act of terrorism. That is what they did. That's what they did. Not only that, it's also a hate crime. A violation of the law motivated by race and prejudice is a hate crime. So we have 2 federal violations by these school board members, and we have 50 blank complaint forms for you to fill out for us. How many people want to fill out? Raise your hand. Okay, because I will make sure you get them. We need to understand that just because you're elected doesn't mean you have to stay there. We put you there, we can remove you. And evidently these people don't understand that. And you know, everyone's saying, oh, I have to look at the chair. No. I'll have Ms. O'Bear trying to get somebody to tell the chair to make people turn around. No, we don't. She can't run us, we run her. And so you need to understand that. Our children are not a priority because people who are in position right now are too caught up in power. They're abusing their power, and how dare you tell them that they're abusing their power? It is your right to tell them that. Now, you deserve the school board that you get. So if you keep her and anyone else on the board, then you deserve that. It is your voice that is going to change and bring back integrity because we need it. She has none. She's shown me she has none. Integrity is not her middle name. Okay, so basically what we need this community to do is we need this community to go ahead and engage in the recall, file it with the circuit court, and go ahead and get her off the board. It's that simple. It's that simple, okay? So I thank you guys for standing up. I thank you guys for speaking up. Our children matter, and the ones who are not for them or against them, there is no middle ground.
Good evening. And thank you so much for your service to educate our children. As a certified mediator, conflict analysis and resolution expert, I certainly understand disputes are seldom simplistic. The reassignment of Mr. Ransome is a case in point. I believe we all agree he is very talented in championing youth whose challenges outside the classroom also affect everyone in the classroom. And we're fortunate to have them. I also understand there are concerns and intense focus on the at-risk youth has come at a cost of broader needs of all middle school students. It is particularly troubling that some stakeholders believe their concerns and grievances expressed through the chain of command have been ignored, and so that their final recourse has been to go through their school board member. Perhaps more troubling, however, is the apparent reluctance of this board as a whole to air these concerns in full session attended by all concerned. I hope that perception proves incorrect and that the board will revisit the matter of Mr. Ransome's assignment. Should you then decide collaboratively to reassign him, I urge you to properly recognize the significance of the position devoted to at-risk students and their problems beyond the classroom. To well-resource and empower is to collaborate with social services, law enforcement, and nonprofits whose focus is at-risk youth and children. Thank you again for your service to our community and its future.
Lori Morissette, followed by Carolyn Crockett.
I'm Lauren Morrison. A voice for moderation. This event, the discord, unrest, and distrust of the community did not have to happen. These actions resulted from either the ignorance of or the willful disregard of school board policy, procedures, and process, and the ignorance or either willful disregard for the division of responsibility between the school board and the superintendent of schools. Transparency in school board actions is a fundamental duty of this board and every public servant. Consistency and the equal application of school board procedures is vital to the public trust. The members of this school board have stressed the importance of privacy in personnel matters. Yet, Ms. Sterrett has published on her Facebook page the justifications for her vote and the allegations which were presented to her and her comments. Surely, this is a violation of the school board's pride in privacy of personnel matters. Ms. Sterrett has said that she can no longer remain silent. If she cannot support the pledge of this board to privacy and personnel matters, then she should resign.
Carolyn Crockett, followed by Ron Herring.
Good evening, board. Dr. Gates, and those that are members of the board, I would say that again. I come on behalf of Mr. Ransome, who is a man of integrity and a man that has a spirit of excellency. But Mr. Ransome, at this time, is really not your issue nor your problem. And I say this simply because of the fact that Mr. Ransome could go anywhere in the United States and this man could achieve. I come to speak on behalf of the voiceless. And the voiceless, and let me go back and tell you who I am again, the Reverend Carolyn Ann Crockett, and hear me well. I come speaking on behalf of the voiceless. And if parents don't mind, if you have children in here, would the children please stand? If you have children. But if you have children, all the children, please stand. No, if you have children, if you don't mind them standing, all the children, please stand. Whether they be Caucasian, whether they're black, African-American, brown, or whatever means that we feel in our own intellect that we want to call them. But they are the voiceless. And I want to say this to the board of Northumberland County. I think that what we need to do is check into the systems that we allow our children to be allotted to that we call behavioral schools. Because things that you do not know are happening to the children. Again, I come to speak for the voiceless. We
are in position that we send these children in areas when they do things at these schools that we consider as special ed or high-risk children, or children that cannot work in the classroom setting because they are.
I'm Reverend Dr. Tyron Williams from Mount Olive Baptist Church, and I serve the people in Northumberland County. I have a question concerning the part of the minutes for the June 29th session that relates to Mr. Ransome, if you don't mind reading that part for me. There is an agenda item. Am I not correct? I think that was the meeting that is of controversial nature, which the decision was made with regards to Mr. Ransome. Is that correct? Yes, sir. I'm asking if that part of the minutes would be read so that we might hear what transpired. I'll go ahead and read it. Board member Gail Starrett motion for the board to promote, reassign Mr. Ransome from principal to pupil personnel director against the recommendation of the superintendent. So it seems quite obvious to me that Ms. O'Beer and Ms. Starrett seem to have taken great pleasure and such calculated deceit in the planning and the reasoning and action to remove Mr. Ransome from his position. In light of the success that he has had with his team at the middle school, whereas the passing percentages for African-American students were raised beyond the prior 2 years, it seems as though instead of embracing and applauding his efforts, we've taken great strides in trying to remove him, and it seems as though there is a reason other than his professionalism. There's an underlying, potentially racist reason behind that. I truly believe that there is something other than the needs and the success of our students that has influenced and motivated these people to go to such lengths to rid our students of such a talented and dedicated educator such as Mr. Ransome, because of personal agendas that appear to be somewhat vindictive. And if I may close with a reminder, when we look at Psalms 37, verse 27 and 29, it reminds us to turn away from evil and to do good. Then you will dwell in the land forever. For the Lord loves the just and will not forsake his faithful ones. Wrongdoers will be completely destroyed. The offspring of the wicked will perish, and the righteous will inherit the land and dwell in the land forever. That is something that these ladies should take to heart as you continue. I don't know what God you serve, and I don't know how much love is in your heart, but it does not seem as though the love of God dwells within you to do evil things such as that you care about. Make sure that you use your voice to speak out and be heard, because our future depends upon it. Okay, I'm sorry, I messed up somehow. She was the first one called. Oh, okay. She was in the restroom. Yes, go ahead.
Might be time for the lawyers.
Good evening, my name is Melissa Kears, and I am a parent of 3 students in Northumberland County. First, I want to say and make clear that I am in support of Mr. Ransome. Before he was reassigned, he was meeting with parents, talking about bridging the gap, and after he was reassigned, he was still meeting with the parents in support of bridging the gap. I have looked at the Department of Education report card, And since Mr. Ransom been here, in a year prior, the gap has been closing. My question to the board is, what's going to happen next with the voiceless children? Those that have parents that are working 2 or 3 jobs, that may not have the resources, as such as Wi-Fi in their homes, to help prepare them to take these SOL tests, to help them to be diligent in the classrooms, that have been promoted to 6th grade and still reading at a 4th grade level. I feel like that's a problem in the school system, that if your child can't even read and you're testing an SOL and you're in the 6th grade and you're reading on a 4th grade level, somebody has dropped the ball. So I was sitting here listening, it's $100,000 that was returned back. That can be used for programs for our children that can bridge the gap. So maybe next school board meeting, y'all can have some answers and concerns of that. Because my issue here is, you know, Mr. He did make a public Facebook post. No one spoke to me. No one asked my opinion. No one came to me. And I'm very vocal in Northumberland Elementary School about my children. My son, he's going into 4th grade, and he is reading on a 7th grade level, on a 12-year-old reading level. So my thing is, I am a concerned parent. I do try all that I can, but I am working 2 or 3 jobs, can't always come to the school board meeting, can't always do. So my concern, my problem is, who's going to help bridge that gap now that Mr. Ransom is gone? Because no principal, no person that has a higher position in the school system has ever called me and said, come on, let's meet so that we can work on trying to bridge the gap. Now, my students, my teachers, their support team has been very good. But again, under the direction of Mr. Ransom. So what is going to change? Now that you got him out, what you going to do now? What's the next steps? No one has said it. No one has done so. So please have the answers to those questions the next time y'all come and meet with us. Thank you.
Good evening. It's my understanding as well that I'm not going to get immediate answers to my questions. But I too wanted to know if either of you have taken a class to learn how to do their job. Yeah, I'm sorry. Pain is not made for a great thing. So I would also like to know what actions will be taken for Ms. O'Bear's illegal actions of removing children's disciplinary records. At some point, they'll be in the minutes. The underhanded, so the underhanded backroom power play call for Mr. Ransom's removal shows what kind of character or lack thereof by Ms. O'Bear and Ms. Garrett, and I personally find it disgusting. I'm asking for your immediate resignations. I don't believe that there are undertones or overtones of racism. I believe that it is racism. We as a community need to focus on the children, all of the children, and what's best for them. Hatred is not an innate trait, but a taught evil. With such a large part of the community claiming to be good Christians, is this how good Christians should be treating one another? I don't believe so. I will stand up today in pain and every day for injustices. I support Mr. Ransome. I believe his contract should stand, and I ask that Dr. Gates, whom I feel for does her job exceptionally, help make it stand. I also would like to say the amount of money paid for attorneys for things that if you had known how to do your job wouldn't have been an issue, could have been used to fund things for our children, for after-school projects, and things to help our children better themselves. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I would like to take the time to thank the community. I think that someone spoke earlier and said that they've never seen the community organized and come together as you have. And I've never seen it either. I mean, I really didn't think the community had much backbone, to be honest with you, because I never seen it. And it's just a great thing. It doesn't matter which side that you're on. It's important that you speak up for what you believe in. It's important that you fight for what you believe in. It really is. And when it comes to your children, the students, that's the most important fight that you can fight. It really is. And I might have my opinion, and Dean might have his opinion, and all of us might have different opinions, but the opinion that should count the most are the citizens of Northumberland County, and especially the parents of the students of Northumberland County. I know we were elected to do a job, and nobody takes it any more serious than I do. But at the same time, it is your opinion and your voice and your desires that should always count. And it doesn't matter what form of government you're in. It doesn't matter whether it's the school board, the board of supervisors, or whatever. The majority voice should always count. If we have a system and the majority does not count, guess what? You have chaos. That's what democracy is built around, the majority of people. And I also emphasize the importance of not taking your vote for granted. There's nothing no more important than the vote that you have. It's important that you use it to every opportunity that you can. And, you know, it's one thing to complain afterwards, but it really would help if you got it and voted and did what you're supposed to do, get your neighbors to vote and everybody to vote, and then have it turn, if 100% of people voted, have it turned out the way it was supposed to turn out. But if you don't vote, they complain. But I am proud of you. I said this last time. I'm proud of our community. I'm proud of the support that you give. And I encourage you, do not give up. Do not become bitter. Do not become disgruntled. But work hard for what you believe in. And I'll always support you.
Anybody else have anything?
I appreciate everyone coming out tonight too, and I do remember the last time we had a big crowd, and some of y'all might remember it, but we even had Channel 6 and 12 and all of them here, and that was because of a negative thing, and this is being turned into a negative thing, and it doesn't have to be. We're all on this board to benefit our children of this county, all the children of this county, and I don't take that job lightly. Even though everybody has their own opinion, I respect that. But I know where my heart is. And I thank y'all for coming out tonight.
Not too late to change.
Okay. Public comments. I'm going to start with the people who have not spoken.
My next point is, Ms. DeViti had this happen to her. I sent an email recently about this move, that on February 29th, it was stated in the minutes when Ms. Obier asked Dr. Gates, why was it not highlighted about this move, this position being created, this new position being created for Mrs. DeViti? Why was it not out there? And she stated to Ms. Ovier in the minutes that it was indicated that the board was not interested. And within a few weeks, Ms. DeViti was moved in that position. And what I'm finding, friends of the community, is what you're not hearing is the things that are taking place behind. And this is why the focus is put on these two women that everybody has slammed tonight, is because they are doing things behind the scenes. When our scores come out,
Your 4 minutes are up.
when our scores come out, you will see that when we drop down into the 60s and our...
Everybody's been going by this.
Okay, well... Somebody...
Christy Lockley, and next is Karen Baker.
Good evening to the members of the school board. My name is Christy Livesay. I'd like to inform you of my own personal experiences with Michael Ransome. On April 29, 2016, I introduced myself to him as a concerned parent. I wanted to try and understand why students with Fs were being allowed to attend an incentive field trip. This is a reward for what exactly? My child was eligible to go for getting all A's, but one of her very best friends with all A's and 2 B's was not eligible. My daughter decided not to be a part of this, but instead support her friend. I agreed with my daughter in this very grown-up and wise decision. During the same conversation, I expressed my deep concerns over the constant behavior issues in the middle school. At least weekly, if not more often, I would learn of fights and inappropriate behaviors occurring at the middle school. I believed that the offenders were being punished and that the appropriate personnel were being notified. I have discovered that this is most definitely not the case. I and several other parents were asked to be a part of a parent advisory board to the superintendent. These concerns and many others were brought to Dr. Gates' attention. This group was not successful as the parents learned that the superintendent broke our confidentiality. The information was being misconstrued and used to benefit her own agenda. The fighting, the bullying, the inappropriate behaviors occurring at the middle school were being ignored. Why? To benefit behavior reports? This should have been followed up on and investigated by Dr. Gates. I would also like to talk about SOL scores. I understand that we, the public, have not seen the new SOL scores. Please note that the scores on the BDOE report card are not from the 2015-2016 school year. I believe that this is correct. Letters were sent out on Friday afternoon, June 10th, 2000, and then retake the SOL on Thursday. Why was this the only initial form of communication, the mail? Some families did not receive their teachers and their community by continuing to allow this to happen. We cannot be divided, but instead unite on behalf of the children. As a community, we need to set an example, and that example can start right here tonight. Thank you for your time.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the school board. I tonight would like to address a couple of issues. First, the climate survey and it finally being made public. The last mention of this climate survey was before spring break. That's a lot of time. A true perception of teacher views of what's really happening at the middle school. This form of communication would help keep our teachers safe from breaking the superintendent's confidentiality rules, a gag order in my opinion. Second, and this is related to the first, I'm deeply troubled, especially after tonight, that there seem to be so many in our community who want to vilify our teachers and make personal attacks against our school board members. Rather than support them and work with them, many teachers and community members are intimidated and will not speak up in fear of retaliation or being labeled a racist. As an educator, a parent, and a community member, I know that it is all of our responsibility to help all of our students succeed. But many have stood at this microphone and said it is the teachers that need to do a better job, and said that they need to be hall monitors rather than hall monitors. Teachers need to teach the children discipline. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I stand by my belief that discipline starts in the home. It is not the teacher's job to teach my children appropriate behavior at school. I would like to say, if you have a child in this school system currently, please stand. Currently. Thank you. You can sit down. I would like to read from a February 28, 2013 Rappahannock Record article titled Training Our Children. Community speaks to up at a meeting to initiate changes. Parents need to be more involved in their children's education. Don't wait until kids get into trouble before talking to teachers. At that meeting, Mr. Long urged parents to stay involved by getting to know teachers, becoming involved in organizations like the PTA and school committees. Mr. Long emphasized the importance of respect. Children must learn to be respectful, his words, must not just of their parents, but of teachers and their community, and how they talk and behave in school and out of school. Parents have to do their job. He urged them not to put the responsibility of raising kids on the school. Responsible parenting is setting standards for children to meet and enforcing them. He also warned of the danger of social media, which I agree. If they're on it, get them off. I have to state, and that I do not agree with the statement that was made in that article, but Mr. Long also said, you just about know if a kid is going to make it or not by the 3rd grade, whether they'll end up in jail. Ms. Hickman, now Ms. Darden, also stated, according to the same article, it's not the teacher's job to raise our kids. Their job is to educate kids. Parents need to be the biggest advocates for our children, of which I agree. There's a lot of talk about closing the gap. I believe we can do that if we work together as a unified community, but we will never close the gap by placing the emphasis solely on the teachers and not holding students accountable for their behaviors and getting parents and the community more involved. The ideology that Mr. Ransome is trying to make everyone believe is detrimental to all students, and to our schools and to our community. If you do not believe me, research St. Paul, Minnesota school districts and see how detrimental the Pacific Educational Group, PEG, has been to their educational system. There's a lot of similarities. Here's a fact. A former teacher stated and shared that Mr. Ransome has stated white teachers do not know how to teach black gap kids. I would like specifics. Please explain specifically the differences. What specific things are teachers not doing to close the gap? We will continue to lose good, effective teachers if we continue down this path of division. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Stan Baker. I'm a resident of Northumberland County, and I have 3 children in the school system. I'd like to take this opportunity to express my appreciation and gratitude to Dana Obeer. Didn't know Miss Obeer before a couple of school board meetings ago. She's come under a lot of fire lately for reporting the discrepancies in the discipline report. I was at that meeting. Making the discrepancy known to the SRO was not only the correct course of action, it was her responsibility as a board member. Although at the time, several members of the current administration were aware of the truth, they failed to come forth with the facts, which resulted in the unnecessary perpetuation of rumors, allegations, and outright lies. Throughout this ordeal, Ms. Obeer, unlike those around her, maintained her dignity, her professional demeanor. Ms. Obeer has patiently waited for the truth to come to the surface. So I'll ask, through all the talk of FERPA allegations, has anyone been able to take their focus off Ms. Obeer and determine whether or not the unreported assaults have been added to the record? I'll wait till next meeting. Today our country suffers from a crisis of leadership. It's evident from the highest levels of our government through corporate America and all the way down to local communities. As a member of this community and this school system, I found it deeply disturbing that so many people in my community turned out to show their support to suppress the issue rather than question why this discrepancy existed in the first place. I could not understand until it dawned on me, as hard as it is to believe. Some people have a vested interest in keeping the frequency of violence and discipline issues a secret. As a father, I've sat at my dinner table with my children far too often and heard them speak about violence occurring in our schools. When we would ask, what happened to these offenders? Our children, plainly enough, said, nothing, they're still in school. That's not what a father wants to hear from his kids. My children.
They're not in prison, they're in school. They are children.
Point of order. People who okay. My wife and I have been forced to meet with bus drivers, teachers, principals, and even the parents and students over this one issue. We've changed our child's class due to the school's inability to effectively deal with violent students. And that's a violation of my child's civil rights.
How many times your kids fight at home?
Ma'am, you were respectfully let to speak.
The lack of an effective policy to deal with this type of repeat offenses is at the heart of this issue. Any discrepancies in the reporting of these issues of incidents to the SRO is a very serious concern for anyone whose main interest is the education and well-being of all students. No young person can learn in an environment which subjects them to the constant threat of violence, and no young person should ever have to. Allowing this sort of environment to develop in the school is not only a failure of the administration, it's a violation of the public trust. I imagine that's my time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing us to speak here tonight. My name is Steve Berman, community member, business owner. I have 2 children in the system. Everybody's talking about the facts. What facts are there? Present the facts, and I will act. Present the facts, we will listen, we will investigate. So I'm going to be talking about the facts. Northumberland County Schools lost approximately 30 staff members in 2014/15. Very few exit interviews were done by Dr. Gates. Our group reached out to many former staff and gathered common complaints. The absence of discipline, inconsistency in following guidelines, lack of respect towards staff and administration, and bullying tactics from the superintendent, which pushed staff out to obtain other employment opportunities. Due to the rules set in place by the previous school member, school board, and Dr. Gates, created a chain of command. This stopped teachers from turning to the board to voice their concerns about administrators. Teachers then had no one to turn to for support and to help resolve internal issues. Dr. Gates, did you not shut down access to all former employees and student information that was made available to former staff? Will the school be liable under FERPA should these emails surface containing students' names, ISS, OSS, etc.? When our former school psychologist, Ms. Rebecca Sterritt, went on maternity leave, a local psychologist, Ms. Shaughnessy, offered to keep casework up to date. Her offer was declined. Ms. Sterritt was forced to catch up. When she returned, Ms. Sterritt departed shortly after the NUCP. Shortly after that, and NUCPS has been without a school psychologist for over a year. Why would the board decide now to approve Ms. Shaughnessy on May 9th? In February, a disciplinary law issue occurred. Mr. Attorney could answer this. Was it determined that a disciplinary law was indeed a record? Was an investigation done? Who conducted the investigation? Where are the published results of the investigation? Was it determined how long it is acceptable to conclude this investigation? Recently, a FOIA request was made in which I asked for backups for expenses. For the most part, I received invoices for services rendered. These invoices detailed what services were rendered and what's then paid. In several cases, NUCPS could use county businesses, but chose not to. Money going out of the county. Might be good reason, but it is a serious question. Additionally, ProCare therapy and speech therapy payments of $35,000 for 6 months were supported by only timesheets. For psychologist Melinda Tilley and speech therapist Nancy Holshan, apologize if I butchered her last name. No indication of what services were rendered. What exactly are we paying for are the questions being asked. And for several conversations with Ms. Vadnot, she indicated there would be no charge to process this request. Nonetheless, I was presented with a bill fulfilling my request. Mr. Howard, you declare to not do email. You do phone. You conversate. You come. You reach me. You face-to-face. In the last 30 days, I've called you over a dozen times with no reply. How do you claim to be informed? You don't speak to your community. You don't go to the source. You attack my wife verbally. You misquote a member that is quoted in the paper. You don't go to her. You don't go to me. That's a problem. The board is divided. This county is divided. We will not heal from these chains of events until we are all healed. If anybody wants to know, here's a copy of the superintendent's contract. Everybody's misquoting her title and what she's supposed to do. The superintendent shall serve as the chief administrative officer of the Northumberland County Public Schools. As the chief administrative officer of the Northumberland County Schools, the superintendent shall have charge of the administration under the direction of the board. Thank you.
Tina Withers, followed by Tanya Henry.
Good evening, Chairman and the board. I'm just going to continue where Sheila left off since she ran out of time. I'm part of the parent group as major concerns with Northumberland County Public Schools. In 2012 and 13, a more rigorous English test was given to schools. Middle school numbers dropped from 84.05 to 70.32. The next year, we increased scores to 76.16. Mr. Ransome's first year, our scores dropped just under 1%. Teachers and parents know children's scores, and we feel parents should prepare for a substantial drop from where we were last year. We will be the general consensus should scores drop into the 60 range. Still, there's no specialists or tutoring programs, and if we're going to try and close this gap, we need these programs. Also, Ms. Trant, a 6th to 8th grade certified English teacher, was hired as an 8th grade teacher to relieve a teacher who was a certified reading specialist to work one-on-one with children. The reading specialist decided she was happier in her classroom, and Ms. Trant was moved to work one-on-one with reading. Ms. Trant was a success. This is one of the many stories parents came to our group to tell us that their son had never been able to pass the reading SOL, but after working with Ms. Trant, the student passed over 500. Now, this is a little bit more on the personal level. I want to also add that under the guidance of Dr. Gates, which began in July of 2012, there have been many complaints made to the Virginia Department of Education, to the Special Ed Division, especially, which covers special education children and ATAG students. The violations stem from the referrals that were made by teachers, parents, etc., and there was no school psychologist available to do this testing. The
testing was not done or completed within the mandated timelines. There have also been complaints made to the Office of Civil Rights, and it sounds like there's going to be more to come. Northumberland County has excellent teachers. I have always been a big supporter of Northumberland County. But when my daughter started coming home from Northumberland Elementary School, every day, upset, crying, begging me not to send her to school, I knew something was extremely wrong. This is coming from a student who absolutely loves school, straight A student, loves her teachers. I went through the chain of command. I had conferences with Ms. Larson and Ms. Baker. All I requested was for my daughter to be moved to another classroom. There were 4 other classrooms available. I was told it is not protocol in Northumberland County to move students to another classroom once school starts. I thought that was kind of strange. After hearing this, I spoke with several parents who in fact had moved their children after school started. Some had even been moved more than once in the school year. Some thought, okay. Many of you board members, Ms. Derrick, Ms. O'Bear, Ms. Christopher, Mr. Sumner, have children and daughters. The day my daughter came to me and looked me in my eyes with tears rolling down her face, I, as a mother, was forced to remove her from Northumberland Elementary School. That was the last day she attended this county. I feel...
I'm sorry, your 4 minutes are up.
That's exactly right. You'll be getting another civil rights complaint very soon.
Connie Henry, followed by
I'm here on the lighter note. The tension in here is really, okay. I just want to say, I graduated from Northumberland High School in 1987. And the disrespect I see among the board members and the community, it saddens my heart. So I'm like everyone to go home and pray that we all come together as one. But I'm here on a lighter note because I am the president of the Northumberland Athletic Boosters. And I knew a lot of people was going to be here tonight because of all everything that's So I decided to come out and invite you all to our all-you-can-eat shrimp dinner that we're having on July 23rd from 5 to 7. Members, if you're here, please stand. They have tickets. So I hope everyone on the board here will buy tickets. It is $25. All you can eat shrimp. You're going to get baked potatoes, green beans, rolled dessert, and a drink. So I hope we'll meet you out there with the $25.
Hey, you know we're weak. We have not had supper.
Thank you.
Good sales.
Carl Press.
Good evening to all of you up there and all of us behind me. It's been a rough meeting. I have never heard someone being called an abomination. I want to say that community is about respect. Respecting one another means also that we have to give as well as take, as well as meet each other in the middle. I don't know about you, but for me, I'd rather go to the source. So I called. When I heard about Dr. Ransome being moved to another position, I went on Facebook. After getting no answers from there, I just called Miss Derrick early in the morning, and I'm so sorry. But she answered. And like I told her, I can agree, disagree with you. But at the end of the day, you have the best interest of the children at heart. Whether I like it or not, I know that Michael Ransome will be good in any position that he has. So I'm not ill-informed and I'm not upset. I just know that there is another place for him to serve the community in a different form in which he is passionate and creative about. Having a young son myself, I am impressed to see an African-American male in that position to work with families, schools, and for other agencies that are at play. Second, do I agree with the way it was done? No. But you don't get everything you want all in one day. Second, Ms. O'Bear, I am sorry. I cannot imagine how much hurt and pain we as a Christian community has done to you. It was only when I let down my guard to go to the Anglican Church and to be at the feeding program where all of us pastors were going that I sat down and asked for a private meeting with you. You are not racist. You are not mean. You are not ill-willed. And you don't have a personal agenda. After listening to you speak and after informing myself, maybe my hurt is that you broke my trust as a parent. But then I realized after reading the paper that you tried everything that you could to bring it to the proper officials, and you were not heard in your position. You see, sometimes people, we want to use the race card as a privilege to do things. We can't keep doing it. When we have our meetings, if we disagree with something, the first thing we should do is be asking the school board members to attend our meeting. Especially if they're the ones who's giving the vote. I want to know why you voted that way. And therefore, come meet with me, come talk with me, come be a part of the process. I may not agree with everything, but I will agree with one thing. You are human, and you do not need to be disrespected. Because we're all created in the image of God. Your job as school board members is to work together. I want to emphasize that word. Work together. If you can't work together, we can't work together. You sit there and say that the school board is divided. When's the last time you crossed the lines to talk to one another, to understand one another, to be civil to one another? In closing, my daughter was here the last time. When we went back home, she said, Daddy, if that's the church that I saw at the school board meeting, I'd rather stay at home forever. Our kids are seeing what we're doing, and they're hearing what we're doing, and we're preparing them to take over. God help us.
Thank you, everybody, for coming.
What is America to me? A name, a map, or a flag I see, a certain word, democracy. What is America to me? A house I live in, a plot of earth, a street, the grocer and the butcher, and the people that I meet, the children in the playground, the faces that I see, all races and religions, that's America to me. The place I work in, the worker at my side, the little town or city where my people lived and died, the howdy and the handshake, the air of feeling free, and the right to speak my mind out, that's America to me. I see about me, the big things and the small, the little corner newsstand and the house a mile tall, the wedding and the churchyard, the laughter and the tears, the dream that's been a-growing for 150 years. The town I live in, the street, the house, the room, the pavement of the city, or a garden all in bloom, the church, the school, the clubhouse, the million lights I see, but especially the people. That's America to me.
So long, then.